Hi there, folks. Welcome back to WP-Tonic. It's our Great Friday show. It's episode 221. Oh, there, I do well, folks. It's the second episode. I've got the actual number correct. I'm on a wave here. We got a great panel. We had some desserts, but it is August, and people, that's what they do, isn't it? But we got some great news stories. And our main subject is going to be email marketing and automation in 2017. You know, email is expanding in some ways. So I'm going to let my great panel introduce themselves. Ladies first, and my co-host, Kim Shivler.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Shivler of White Glove Web Training and howtobuildononlinecourse.com. Happy to be back. I missed last week.
Right, I'm going to let Jason introduce himself. Go on, Jason.
Hey, listeners. My name is Jason Marlowe. I'm a marketing consultant and a WordPress consultant, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to be alive.
Yes, he was interviewed on Wednesday, and he survived the experience.
I did. I missed Kim, though.
You did.
I missed it. I hated. I was completely not fit for human consumption.
Jonathan said you did a runner.
It was bad.
All right. And we got another great panelist. We got Mendel. Would you like to introduce yourself, Mendel?
Yeah, I'm Mendel. And I'm coming to you live from my hotel room near the venue for WordCamp for Publishers. The first ever WordCamp for Publishers in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, so anyway, nice. that's where I am. And I work for GoDaddy on the GoDaddy Pro project.
I actually thought it was a French prison cell, actually.
I was kind of wondering about the lighting.
That's kind of, all you get at an Embassy Suites. So.
I'm just going to inform the listeners that are not listening to the live feed of the show. I was boring the panel with my episodes in France, folks, where I got done for speeding. And I've got a bit of advice for you, folks. If you do go to France and you get stopped for speeding, pay the fine straight away, folks. Don't decide to argue with them and end up in a French police cell overnight. It's not a very nice experience. So we move forward and we go for our first story. And that's from DreamHost, and it's published by DreamHost. We fight for users. I'm going to let Jason start with this. Jason, what did you think of this one?
I don't know why, but I was a little shocked when I first read this about the intrusiveness of the, I guess it's the Department of Justice.
Why are you surprised, actually, Jason?
I don't know. I don't know, but I was. I couldn't believe the audacity that they would request this data and information from, what was the site? It was a site to organize protests. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was the when President Trump was the biggest. What was his words? The biggest crowd in history ever turned up for his inaugural. And it was these horrible people that were going to protest against him on the day, and they had this website, and now the justice wants to put every person that went to the website, you're going to be visited by them. Well, they're attempting that, aren't they?
Yeah. So,
if you want to come and see me, you can come anytime you like. I'll make you a cup of tea, Justice Department people. Wherever you want to. I'm quite. I went to the website. If you want to come and have a chat with me, please feel free. All right.
Yeah. It made me feel good. I mean, I've used DreamHost in the past. I left them not for any fault of their own. Just I found something that served my needs better, and so it made me happy as a past client to know that they were so vocal about the stance that they're taking, and they didn't just readily just hand everything over. So that made me happy. So I like the article.
It must have been tempting just to fall over and put your four feet up, and just give them everything they wanted, because the money and the aggro this is probably causing DreamHost must be amazing. Mendel, what did you think?
Yeah, So I agree. I think it's great that they did it. I would just say, I think the majority of reputable hosts, so hosts that have been around a while, have spent time in the industry, have any sort of reputation. So anybody that you can think of that's a big name that kind of rolls off the top of your head. I think all of those hosts probably would treat this request in a similar way. And so I think it's great. I think it's an indication that private industry is kind of taking a stance that I personally agree with, to protect users and the content that they create from unusual investigation, unless there's a real there are certain legal things you can't get past. There are certain moral things that you shouldn't get past, right? And so I think everybody in the hosting industry is generally trying to just do the right thing. Most of the time, they get it. Some of the time they don't. In this case, it was. I think it's personally, not talking on behalf of the company I work for. I think it's a great thing. So.
Yeah, but before I go to Kim, I really I should have given some background information to the listeners. We're talking about DreamHost have had some legal problems with the Justice Department, who's on a trawling exercise. One of the worst examples of overreach by government that I've seen in a long while. They
now that's Jonathan's. By the way, that's Jonathan's editorial too. While I'm guessing all four of us on this show agree. There are many in the country that would not agree as well.
So this is my take, folks. Thank you, Mendel. Thank you for that. I did make that clear. Thank you. This is my interpretation, but it's my show anyway. So, they found some old dotter of a judge that's probably near to snuffing it, and who doesn't probably know what IP address is. And they probably got him out of bed in the middle of the night, and he signed the warrant. And all the what I've listened to, all the nasty stuff was on the last page of the warrant. But if you've been an experienced judge, I suppose they always swip to the last page because they know that they're going to bun something nasty at the end of it anyway. But obviously didn't read it all. So off they go to DreamHost on this trawling exercise to find out these enemies of state that actually visited a website. And DreamHost just told them to clear off, and they're in a bit of a legal battle. That's the basic facts of it, which is my interpretation. Thank you, Mendel. So, Kim, what did you reckon about it?
Well, I agreed with what you guys said, but I thought when I read it, it was a good reminder that they pointed out just how often this does happen to all web hosts, how often they are approached with, we want the information of X, Y, and Z. And that, they were just really pointing out, I thought, their process of, we look at it, and if our legal deems this to be wacko like this one, we're going to fight it. And I think it was just a good reminder to us that this stuff is going on behind the scenes. They chose to publish it or publicize it, which I appreciate, because it's something all of us should keep in mind that happens.
I was going to kind of punctuate that point with one other thing, and that is, speaking non-specifically, I can tell you that there are many things that are happening. People usually talk about the security vulnerabilities that hosts are involved in fighting or networks are involved in fighting, but it goes so much deeper than that. It's it's child pornography, it's human trafficking, it's illegal content or takedown requests. there's all of this stuff that that happens in the background that I think a lot of people kind of take for granted. They're like, oh yeah, you're our $5.99 a month host or $30 a month host or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff, and WordPress.com goes through it, as well as the independent web hosts, right? And so it's interesting. If you dig into it, you'll learn that a lot of hosts have lawyers and legal teams that are dedicated specifically to this type of stuff, or that are fighting these types of things on Capitol Hill. So there's a lot of shit there. There's a lot of shit that people have to deal with if they're hosting websites, or even if they're hosting the infrastructure that hosts websites like Amazon or Cloudflare or whatever. So it's interesting.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I think we'll go on to the next story, and that's Gravity Forms stops entries plugin aims to help sites comply with EU's GDPR. And this is from Sarah Goodin, and it's from the WP Tavern. And it's kind of linked to our previous story, but also the main topic in some ways, because it's about storing data from Gravity Forms or any form plugin in your database and the consequences that might lead to. What did you think of this one? Let's start with Kim. What did you think of this one?
Well, a couple of different things. The article contradicted itself. In one, it said you can't save this on the database in your database, and then later on it said, well, actually, it doesn't keep it from it. So I went to actually read the thing, and I mean, part of their rules are we're not allowed to have legalese in our privacy statements. Well, let me tell you, that is the hardest document to read. I couldn't figure out exactly what the rules were. Mm. But the big thing that came to me was, okay, I'm not allowed to take people's data. Forget the forms, because the actual, what I could read from it, it didn't just say from forms. It said grabbing people's personal data. Well, what about my security plugin that grabs people's IP addresses, and if they're misbehaving, keeps it in the database and blocks them in the future? Is that affected now? I don't have an answer.
Yeah, you better write to go down to his legal department and ask them. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Sorry, Mendel. Oh, God, he's giving me a strange look there. Right, I better quickly go on to Jason. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange article. That's well pointed, actually. What did you think of it?
I liked it. I've got a good many customers in the medical industry, so it got me really to thinking about here in the U.S. we have HIPAA laws.
Yeah.
They're
lovely, and you definitely don't want to get on the wrong side of those, do you?
Yeah, no. So it got me to really. It actually spurred me to start doing a little bit more research into HIPAA to make sure that the clients that I've done in the past were all compliant, and because it really got me thinking, and it also got me to want to actually try out this plugin. What's it called? Wider Gravity Forms stop entries. I'm definitely thinking of trying it, because I use Gravity Forms a lot for my sites, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because maybe, and if we talk about the third article, I'll throw some reasons in there. But no, it really got me thinking about HIPAA and how we can, and how we just really need to be so secure and make sure that we are good custodians of our customers' data and their clients as well. So, really got me to do a lot more research.
Yeah, that's the main reason. Before I go on to Mendel and what he thought about it, that's the main reason why I included it, because I think you really got to think about this in a little bit more detail. Obviously with e-commerce websites, you got all the regulation about taking credit card details. But I think, as you pointed out, Jason, you got HIPAA, you got other, if you're websites international. We've got the European common market, got other countries' rules. You probably going to have to think about this in a little bit more detail, aren't you, depending on the website. What do you think, Mendel?
Two separate issues. One, I freaking love Carl Hancock. I think he's a great dude, and I think the company that he's created around gravity forms is awesome. I think this should be a core feature of gravity forms. This is a checkbox. And it's silly that it's in any plugin. And I know before it was a paid plugin, and I can't remember who published it. It was a third party. I just, honestly, I use Gravity Forms a lot. I'm a paid user. I'm not on a free demo license or anything like that. And I would just love for it to be core. The other issue, which is compliance, I think this article is great because it sheds a light on compliance that people maybe didn't know that they needed to take care of when dealing with customers in Europe. But again, I think the issues are separate. Saving or not saving in the database should be core to any Forms plugin. And on the other side of that, read this overly complicated piece of information and then try and implement it as best you can, because this stuff, as we know, starts off simple and then can really cause some headaches down the road if you don't comply. So,
and I think really it just emphasizes, use a quality hosting provider. Keep your plugins up to date. Have some mind about security, about even if you're not in e-commerce, you are probably taking people's information if they're filling forms in, and you've got to take some basic security steps to keep that secure. And if you don't, you might be opening yourself to some problems. That's why I included the article, because prevention is always better than cure, isn't it? Preventing something going wrong is always better than having to deal with a mess afterwards, isn't it? You learn that as you get older, folks. I can assure you. I think we will go on to the third story quickly. And then we go for our break, which was, I'm going to butcher the gentleman's name that published it, so I'm going to ask for Jason's help here.
Thanks.
It's all your fault. So basically, it's from the talk and the article. Here's what it takes to make a WordPress website mobile friendly, and it's by Nick.
Just Nick.
Nick. Let's just say Nick then. And you can find because I'm going to butcher the name. I'm literally going to just. Does my co-host want to have a go at it? Oh, no, you don't, do you? Right, that's it. They're all.
I'll make up a last name if you want.
Go on then.
Gonzalez.
Oh, Gonzalez.
Okay.
Right.
That's close.
It's
very, very close.
Our guest this coming Wednesday is German. She could tell us how to say it when she comes on.
I'll save it and ask her, because
Okay.
I've had people email me saying they didn't appreciate me butchering their name. So there we go.
Oh man. Tough crowd.
So, Jason, do you want to start off with this one?
I feel like it was a little. I don't know, this is going to make me sound like a total jerk, but it felt beneath me. I was like, okay, well, this is all kind of obvious. This is all kind of stuff that should have been published years and years ago. It's kind of made me scratch my head to figure out why WP Engine, which is who runs Torque, why they would be publishing this. But I guess it's for the people who've had their head in the sand for so long.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, not being rude here, but just quickly interrupt. That was exactly my feeling when I was reading it, actually, Jason. But I think we're in a bubble. I think you get into a community bubble, WordPress bubble, web design bubble, whatever the bubble is, and you think this is all this is all pretty obvious stuff. But I can tell you, and hopefully Mendel's going to agree with this maybe, is that what's obvious in the bubble isn't obvious to 90% of the population. That's one of the reasons why I included the story, Jason.
Well, I'll tell you why I thought it was really dated. And I know what you mean by the bubble, because when I'm having client meetings, I have to constantly make myself not speak the way I would speak to maybe like you guys. But I tell you why it feels dated, because it's these ways to kind of hack your site into making sure that it looks good on mobile and that it's responsive. And this obviously should have been done years and years and years ago. And it pains me to think that people are just now kind of coming on board, even though what it was a year or 2 years ago, Google told us that it was going to start taking mobile friendliness into account more often. And I don't know, I'm like, okay, this is really late to the game. You should have published this years ago. Because at this point, it shouldn't be these little hacks that you do to your site. It should be responsive from the ground up. And I feel like the article kind of starts out by saying, if you have to stick with your current site theme, like if you don't want to change, this is what you can do to fix it. But that shouldn't be the approach. And it kind of frustrates me that Torque would kind of produce content like that wouldn't be centered around making your website the best it can be, rather than making it work as is. So that just had me a little frustrated.
Yep, I understand it. What did you think, Mendel?
The article, what's strange to me is that the article was published on Torque. So the majority of websites out there are small business websites, and they're also created by small business owners that don't really know about, or in some cases don't care about mobile friendliness, unless you tell them they're going to sell more drinks, sell more sandwiches, have more people come in and buy their t-shirts, whatever it is, right? And so a few things. Number one, this is a great article for small business owners that are trying to hack this stuff together themselves and have thought to themselves, man, you know what? I know I read somewhere about, or I went to the SBDC or something like that, and I found out that I need to make my website mobile friendly. How do I do that? Instead of retheming, which can be a super arduous process, something that it takes them a lot of time to do because they're not experienced and they're trying to run a restaurant or something like that. This can be a really great solution, even though it's not a great solution. That being said, I don't know why Torque published it in particular, because it's really not their demographic, I don't think, right? So like, this looks like an article that honestly would appear on GoDaddy's Garage, because our core is small business customers, or on, if Bluehost has a blog or something like that, right? But it does seem odd to be there. The only other thing, it's great advice, but like, this is a non-notable article. There are a million articles like this one. I think the suggestions are super solid, and that it's a totally defensible article to have out there to help people. And some of the techniques are older, but again, my aforementioned thoughts, right, probably combat that. I think it's a strange place for it to be, and so maybe that's why it looks weird there. So
I think they're great points, actually. So I was puzzled by that. It was one of the reasons why, but I was gonna see you agreed with some of my thoughts, and you have, both of you. I also want to point out, folks, that I'm not being sexist. I've left Kim a few times in these conversations so far, the last person, but she's recovering from a really bad cold, and she said she'd come on the show as a trooper, but she needed to save her voice. So I thought I would leave it to the end, and then she can just pass comment on the other people. That's why I'm doing it, folks. So Kim, what did you think about it?
The same. I thought it's kind of weird for that audience. I thought it was very valuable, though, for my small business. My customer base are small business people and side hustlers, and their misnomer is that as long as the theme is responsive, their whole site is. And, you know, that's something I always have to teach. I don't care how responsive your theme is. If you add these crazy 20 meg pictures that you took off your iPhone, just because it's resized doesn't mean you're friendly with anything. So I thought it was good for that audience, but a strange place to have it published.
Yeah, really quite odd, really, but there we go. All right, then, I think we're going to go for a break, folks, and then we're going to come back for the main topic of the show, which is email marketing and automation in 2017. I've been looking forward to this chat because I've been delving in a bit of automation myself. We'll be back in a minute, folks. We're coming back, folks. We've got a great panel. I think I'm boring them. They look like they're going to fall asleep, most of them. But hopefully I can brighten them up a bit. But we've got on our main topic of this week, email. I know it sounds a little bit, email in 2017, but when you look at the statistics, it's still one of the biggest return on investment you can make in marketing. And then you've got a lot of new automation players that have entered the market, like Drip and Active Campaign. You've got a lot of movement in the area. I'm going to start off with Jason, because I think we touched on it when I was interviewing on Wednesday, Jason, about email and that. So there seems to be a lot, suddenly, a rather, let's say, I'm fighting for the right word here, area of marketing that didn't seem to be a lot of movement in it. Suddenly you've had a lot of players like Drip, Active Campaign, a lot of other people, and around automation and that. What you're feeling about how things are going around this area in 2017?
Well, first of all, let's go ahead and let's define marketing automation, because most of the time it kind of gets attributed directly to email, where that's one of probably the biggest spaces and one of the best opportunities to do it. But automation really is just taking any kind of process that you would do in your business and turning a switch and just having it work without you having to, touch it. That's probably one of the most basic ways to define it. So, but for email marketing and marketing automation, this has been a really exciting year for me, especially the last couple of months, because what was it? I think early May, MailChimp announced that it was going to be offering their automation services for free, which was kind of huge, and I think paved the way for a really amazing next couple of years, because anytime I think you offer anything that's free, like MailChimp's base level service, a lot of exciting things are in the forefront, or in the future for us. So I'm excited to see what happens after that. I know as a MailChimp user myself, I had a base level account for the business, didn't have the need to upgrade, but we finally upgraded in April because we wanted the marketing automation. I saw the announcement come across my newsfeed, and I immediately contacted my partner and I said, downgrade that, because it was now free, so we could play in that space. But marketing automation, whether it's email, social media, whatever, is a great way for SMB type people to level up their game. Whether it's a quick email after a sign up, and then that immediately starts a whole drip campaign where 1 week out, 3 months out, 6 months out, you are continually touching and nurturing these customers. It's completely, marketing automation on any level has completely changed the landscape. It's also being abused, but it's completely changed the landscape for small to medium-sized businesses.
Oh, thanks, Jason. So what do you think, Mendel? There seems to be, over the past 18 months, 2 years, a lot of movement in this area, doesn't there?
Yeah, and I agree with the sentiment from Jason that it's not just about email automation. It's about business automation. So So I'm hacking together a site, hikingwithgeeks.com, and there's something like traffic is going up like this, right? And email signups are going like this, and the emails and the traffic by themselves aren't super meaningful. Okay, like it's great to have emails, it's great to have traffic, but when I compare activities on the site with activities in the email or intent, whether there's, because there's an online store there, so purchase intent with communications, or visit intent, right? So there are guides, there's stuff on the site that's content based. So visit intent to get people more interested in sharing things or coming back to visit and take a look before they head out on the weekend for a hike or something like that. All of those things are valid, because remember, the business isn't just about making sales, right? Sometimes you can make more sales sustainably over time by building community or building some sort of brand around what you're doing, right? So when I think of automation, I totally think of, since I'm a one-person show, I think, how do I take this big thing, kind of like a trash compactor, right? I don't want to think of my site as trash, but kind of like a trash compactor. You throw stuff in there, and it condenses, right? And that's kind of what automation is. You have a big group of tasks. You automate half of those. Now you have all of this time back over here, where you can start doing more with the business. You can start growing. You can start prospecting, all those different things. So I think it's hugely valuable. The MailChimp thing was a big deal. I remember the same conversation I had with myself. I'm like, well, I'm hemorrhaging money here, but I really want to sign up for marketing automation. Drip is another. It was built from the ground up for marketing automation, so that's another great one too. But I think it's awesome. I also think it's something you have to do very very slowly if you're doing it for the first time. So if you're a business owner and this is something you want to get your hands into, start slowly and do one thing at a time. Test it. That's rolling great, and before you know it, a year in, you're like, oh, holy crap, I have like 17 different automated emails and I'm generating X amount of revenue from them and stuff like that. But
yeah, before going to Kim, the other factor is like what both panelists have said, it's not just only email. You've got the whole area of there's bolts, that services that generate automatic messaging, Facebook Messenger. There's the whole area of automatic text messages to mobile, which a lot of these email services were traditionally based in email, expanding their project range, and they also combine it with a customer management systems like Active Campaign. You pay a certain amount and you can get the customer management system included in their system. So what because I think you've been playing around with setting up systems yourself, Kim, haven't you?
I have. I was excited about today because I'm still in the learning phase. I had a couple years ago quite a bit of automation set up and then kind of let it go by the wayside. So now I'm getting back into it, playing a little bit with Drip and a little bit with Active Campaign. I currently have GetResponse, but I'm looking for the next thing. So I was very excited about what you guys had to say. Now, I did have some experience with the MailChimp, and so Jason, I'd love to hear from you. One of my clients is moving from MailChimp to Drip because they were just having a horrible time with the way MailChimp is moving to the tagging, but they don't have it done to where they actually were able to segment the list the way it was supposed to happen. And they hired one of like the certified MailChimp people, and they said, yeah, that's a bug we're having problems with right now. So it kind of killed some of their automation because they had the tags the way MailChimp told them to, but they couldn't segment.
Yeah. I have also had issues. I mean, every platform is not going to be the perfect solution, right? But I've had some issues with list segmentation recently. We were setting up the welcome email for our podcast subscriber list. And so I mean, there's issues, but I will tell you, and this is not just because my sister works there. I mean, sister-in-law works there, but they have an awesome support team who's willing to go as far as you need to down the road to fix a solution. So they just from what they've told me, they go through a ton of training. So like a lot of customer service people, okay, well, you get a week and then now you take the reins. I mean, this was like a 2 or 3 month process I think they had to go through to become trained and stuff like that. So, I mean, I love MailChimp. I love the brand. And I do hate that they do have issues.
You like the socks, don't you?
I do love the socks because it is a perfect example of micro marketing. But that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, so they do have issues with the segmentation that I've seen. But I mean, I would hope that they would fix that sooner rather than later. And you know, what size business was your client that had to leave?
I think there maybe 2,500 people on their list.
Oh, that stinks.
I'm
sorry to hear that.
But anyway, I appreciate your feedback because it was one of those where I was like, I'm not the expert here.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to go find somebody
not
else. It's not me.
They're not alone. But yeah, it's Drip is a really great, as Mendel was saying, Drip is a really great system to use for marketing automation. There's a ton out there. A lot of them are freemium to try. There's one that I've been dying to try. I think it started in France. It's come to the US now. I think it's called Send in Blue. There's a lot of other tools out there to try. But I would encourage listeners, go out and just pick one, you know, MailChimp is cool. They have a really cool culture. That's why I was leaning towards them initially. Drip is great. But there's just, no matter what you do, just get something started and just see your processes just change. Again, like Mendel was saying, you know, your prospecting will just change completely because you know that part of your systems that you've had in place for years, that was just you. Okay, well, I always just copy this email and then I just change out the name and change these other pieces and then I send it. You know, how much is that of your day that you're doing? That's what, maybe 3 or 4 minutes? Well, that's 3 or 4 minutes that you don't have to spend. Multiply that versus all of these people you're trying to prospect. And, you know, it's a massive, massive shift in the time that you have as a small business owner to do more.
Yeah, I also think people are probably thinking when they're listening to the show, you know, why do I need to look at this? And I just want to give some examples. Like with WP-Tonic, I'm head of sales. I'm head of almost everything. But I'm head of prospecting. And basically one of the things I do, folks, is that I prospect business-to-business clients that might be looking for WordPress help, and then I send them a personalised handwritten letter to the VP of marketing, and I use various techniques to make sure that the address is right, and then they get a series of automated email after the personal letter that I've sent to them. And then if they show some interest, they're showing that they're reading. You've got to be fussy with the email provider that you're using because you need to make sure that your email get through. I'm not having a go. That's one of the reasons why I use ActiveCampaign, because I found that they're one of the most, they scrutinize where you got your list quite heavily. And I had to tell them the process that I was using, and they said they weren't totally happy, but they said they would observe and and touch wood, I haven't had a lot of people mark it up as spam because it's a very small targeted audience that I do this to. But the email get through, they don't end up in the marketing folder or the spam or the junk folder. and then they get a phone call from me, and I try and have a personal discussion with these people. Another thing is I have another business which is in the real estate agent area, Melwright, where we provide a lot of services where automation is part of the service that we provide through Facebook and landing pages that send off a series of email to the prospects we're hoping to get for our clientele. So I'm just giving a broad picture of all the ways that automation might be used through landing pages, through text email. What do you think, Mendel? Are there some resources that that you've used to educate you around that might be helpful to the listeners?
Yeah, I think a lot of the materials that that providers have on their websites are really great. So MailChimp has really spent a lot of time building out tutorials. Drip has really spent a lot of time building out onboarding. Like, call these people up and say, hey, you know, I have people coming to my website. I want to take it to the next level. I have an online store. Have all these email addresses. I know I need to do something with them. What do I do? My brother is just starting this journey, so I know kind of how it begins. He sells products offline and online, and he did something as simple as activating the Square readers feature for requesting an email address for opt-in at time of purchase, and it's something as simple as saying, hey, thanks for your purchase. You know, while you're standing there, give me your email address and I'll send you a coupon later on for a deal on your next purchase. 99% of the people sign up. Now you have a really great list, and you can start doing stuff. I would say the first thing before automation is start working on an email newsletter or just segmentation, because that's like half the battle of getting your head around automation is understanding segmentation, understanding that there are different audiences within your user base, and then just moving on from there and getting more sophisticated. So yeah, start simple and don't overthink it, because a lot of people, when they think too much about it, then they never start, you know. So.
Yeah, that's a great point, and thanks for making those points, Mendel, because that's one of the reasons why I thought we have to show is that I think it is definitely something you should investigate if you're getting a certain amount of traffic. I think the other thing people got to realise why they should look at these automatizations and that is the brutal fact that it takes a lot of effort to get people to come to your website, and the fact is a lot of people that come to your website will never come back again when you look. Do you think that's another part of this, Jason?
Yeah, it's a nurturing. It all comes down to really nurturing a prospect, nurturing a customer, nurturing a past customer who left you. It's all about fostering that relationship at whatever stage it is. So, and you know, to piggyback off of the direction that Mendel was going, if I had to start like in 3 places, if I had to pick like 3 different automation campaigns specifically with email that I was going to start, the first one would be the welcome series. So like onboarding, that's a huge place that I would focus for new customers is onboarding. So defining what that experience is and making sure that it aligns with your brand and it provides value, because that's at the end of every day, every automated response that you have needs to provide value to who you're talking to. Another place that I would start is a newsletter or like just a general nurturing campaign that you drop like at least once a month. Right? So send them some valuable information that connects with them and gives them a reason to remember you. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then the last one I would do is I would try and start a win-back campaign. So any kind of customers who leave you, you immediately put them on a drip. So say like 3 months out or something like that. I would think that's about the time frame that somebody would have buyer's remorse. And so that's when I would start hitting them up with, a few targeted emails to try and win them back. And, I said early on that it's marketing automation is not just about email, but email gets the biggest highlight is because an email address is marketing gold, right? So it's the best thing that you have in order to connect with a past customer, a current customer, or a prospect in order to connect with them. Because email is not dead at all. It's a very, very large and thriving tool to communicate with customers. But if I had to pick 3 different things that I would use to connect with people as far as email marketing automation, I would start with those.
Oh, I think that was great. And also Mendel, because I think splitting your lists up, and this is the whole point. At a certain stage, this is why you need to look at automation, because your list should be targeted at subgroups, and it tends not to. So, Kim, sorry, man, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say one other thing. So quality is really important too. A lot of people focus on like, I need to grow my list, and it needs to be huge. And in some cases, that's totally true. If you're looking at general apparel or something like that. Camp Press, I'm sure all of you, at least on this call, are aware of it. When I got the email list consists of a very small amount of people compared to a gargantuan email marketing list that somebody would have for a general retail or something like that. But a super high percentage of people on that list have converted to paying ticket holders, because the list is so targeted, right? And the people that signed up are all interested in what's being offered, right? And so I think I've converted like 30% of the list or something like that. Like it's a high percentage, and so just focus on quality first, and then if you're like, oh wow, I'm trying to prospect outside of that, then cool, then try and bring more people in, but realize those people are a different segment too, right? They're less qualified leads, so you have to talk to them differently.
Yeah, I think that's great, Kim. To wrap up, because you've been in the area of membership sites and advising people on membership sites. I would imagine this whole area of email marketing automation is so important. When you're dealing with membership sites, i.e. getting new people that drop out of course to reconsider coming back. Am I correct in that? And give some insights into that, Kim?
Absolutely. And just like Mendel, what you were saying that he had the Square reader and the opt-in to go ahead and opt in right there. Same thing we do when we use MemberPress. When they sign up, we go ahead and say, hey, join our newsletter too, and they can do it from right there. You can do it within WooCommerce. So any of these options, you can, you want to get them right there. My biggest tip for people is once you have them, consistency is key. Just like with social media, don't ignore them for a month or 2 years, because you're going to all of a sudden get flagged as spam if you've ignored your list over time. You've got to nurture them, I think was the word you used, Jason, and that was perfect. I would also, Jonathan, you mentioned something, and depending on what you do, look around at not just email as far as the automation. Jonathan, you mentioned the SMS, the text messaging. I do a lot of public speaking, professional speaking, teach a lot of workshops, and I have a lot of friends who are, that is their core market. And anecdotally, they say that's where they get most of their stuff. When they are on stage and they say, text this, and this is what you're going to get back from me, that's when they get it. So that will be something I'll be doing probably in Sacramento, and I'll tell you how it works. But that's something I'm hearing from a lot of people from the stage. Get the text messages. It's easier to get them in the automation that way than the email from that location.
Yeah, funny enough, I've mentioned it, but I despise it. People that text me, it drives me potty, but it's totally effective. It's really, and that's the other thing. When I'm advising real estate agents, a totally different group to my WordPress community. Really totally different. You are going to get the odd person that will mark you up at spam. It's a percentage. Don't freak out about it. Obviously, if it goes into the high 20s%, you got a slight problem. But you're going to get the odd person that, and you can still probably communicate with those people. They're just not finding your particular email has value for them. So one of the things, just to finish up, and is the landscape has become so broad, hasn't it? The technology that you can use now, from text messaging to Facebook message to Twitter to email, it's just got so broad, hasn't it, Mendel? Would you agree with that? The choices, I think a lot of people, and I think you touched on this, didn't you? Keep it simple. Is that it's just the broad, the landscape so broad now, isn't it, Mendel?
Yeah, yeah, and with all of the broadness, right? SMS and email, and you can do marketing automation with Facebook and Twitter and retargeting, and there's a gazillion ways to do it. Again, keep it simple and test, and decide what you want to get out of it before you test, right? And determine whether or not, measure your results, determine whether or not you got it, and then go back. One thing that you never want to do is spend money indiscriminately or spend time indiscriminately on something that you haven't set a goal for and that you can't measure, because then it's just pointless. The whole point of optimizing sales funnels or optimizing customer relationships is to get some sort of benefit or result. And if you're not measuring after you're testing, then it's pointless. So start simple, measure, test, and repeat.
And just to wrap up, before I ask the great panel how we can get hold of them and learn some more about them, is I'll give you some anecdotal thing about email marketing. For the WP-Tonic, I have a list of about 3,000 people that from various sources, mostly people I've met or have signed up online. And I send out a regular monthly WP-Tonic newsletter. And a lot of these people open it, they don't open it every month. And about less than a year ago, I had somebody approach me for some WordPress work. And they've been receiving the email for over a couple of years, and they approached me, and I never heard of them before. I'd met them, but I'd forgotten them because we had met a couple of years before, and they've become one of my best clients now. A substantial part. So you never know, because as long as they don't unsubscribe, you might not hear from them for quite a period of time, but you're touching them, and it might not be the right moment that they become a client, but as long as they keep opening the email, keep reading it, there's a chance that they will become a substantial client. So you've got to keep that in mind, folks. So I'm going to let the panel. Let's start with Jason again. How can people learn more about you, Jason?
You can find me online at jasonmarlowe.com. That's MARLOWE. And same on Twitter at Jason Marlowe. You can hit me up at on our Lunch Break Marketing podcast, lunchbreakmarketing.com, or on Twitter at lunchbreakmkt.
Where they can learn even more about all this stuff about marketing, can't they?
Exactly.
Exactly. Mendel, how can people learn more about you, Mendel?
Well, thanks for asking, Jonathan.
I'm always polite, aren't I, Mendel? You got to give me 5 stars. I think you got to give me.
So follow me on Twitter for a bunch of blather at If You Will It. If You Will It. That's on Twitter, Facebook. That's on the web too, ifyouwillit.com. And if you want to see what I'm up to at GoDaddy, you can check that out at godaddy.com/ pro. And I'm trying to get them to change that to godaddy.com/proizzle or something like that. Something really corny, but no luck. So godaddy.com/pro.
Before going to Kim, actually, you travel an enormous amount. You got any insights, tips, or tricks about keeping healthy when you're traveling so much?
Who?
You, Mendel.
No, obviously not Kim.
Yeah, no, I thought
She's the one who got sick.
Stop worrying so much. Quit cleaning your trays and you know, like covering your neighbor's nose when they're sneezing. Take care of yourself. Eat well. Eat healthily and exercise while you're on the road. And yeah. And do a little. We can become blood brothers too, because I have really good immunity. So.
Oh, great! There you go, Kim. I thought I'd ask for you. How can people get hold of you, Kim?
They can find me at Twitter at Kim Shivler. You can find me on kimshivler.com or whiteglovewebtraining.com, howtobuildononlinecourse.com, any of those. What's ironic is I almost never get sick. And my friends are like, I haven't seen you this sick since I've known you. And I used to be in IBM's worldwide team. Never once got sick. So I don't know what on earth happened this time, but obviously I will be going back to the old working on the immune system thing here once we get rid of this thing.
Wait, and Kim, people can see you presenting somewhere soon. Where is that?
I will be at WordCamp Sacramento.
Oh, yes.
As will you, Mendel. Yeah. As will Sally.
All right, the posse. All right, I will be there, but I won't be presenting. But I'll be hovering. Oh,
I think we need to do a WP-Tonic version while we're there, because so many of us will be there.
Let's do it.
Let's do a live record.
The whole yeah, why not? Let's go for it. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be able to throw things at me, you know, even better. All right.
Let's definitely do it.
Oh, yeah. Right, now I'm up for it. So how can people get hold of me, folks? It's really easy. You either Twitter me at Jonathan Denwood. I also reply to my email. If you need any help, advice, or you've got any suggestions about guests or subjects that we should be covering, just email me, Jonathan at WP-Tonic.com. You can go to the Tonic Facebook page. You can message me, text me, whatever you want to do. I'm available, or I try to be. That's true. I think it's been a great show, folks. Hopefully got some insight. I think we've had a great panel, and we'll be back next week for another episode of WordPress news and main subject. See you later, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.